I want to pick your brain. You reached the pinnacle, and I don't mean just getting to the big leagues, right? You reached the pinnacle in that you were an all-star. You were this persona that was revolutionary in a sense during that time while you were kind of at the height of your celebrity, I'll call it. But what was it like closing out a World Series?
Let's just get real. In spring training, I woke up in the middle of the night from a dream. I woke up and was like, whoa, we're going to win the World Series. Now, I understand 30 teams have that aspiration every spring training. Only one, it's real. But there was just something given to me where we're for sure winning the World Series.
When was this?
This was 2010. I just knew. We just went about this whole journey in September where it comes down to the final game of the season. We're up one game. We have to win this or we go to some weird tiebreaker. So it was like, if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. In that final moment, it's 3-2. Nelson Cruz is up. Time didn't slow down, but my awareness became very acute and specific about that particular moment. And I was looking at the dugout. No one was looking at me. They were just kind of looking at the batter, checked my surroundings. I took a deep breath, went through my motion, came back up, and then I just got this super emotionally excited, like I was 9 of, oh my gosh, God, we're about to win the World Series.
I feel like I need to introduce you to everybody, not because they don't know who you are, but because you look vastly different from when my audience would recognize you. So you were somebody who played baseball at one point. When was the last time you threw a baseball?
Last time I threw a baseball, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, I was playing Frisbee golf and there was an old decrepit baseball there and I just chucked it and was like, yeah, still got it. Still got it. A little bit don't got it, but I said it out loud anyways.
Yeah. I want to pick your brain.
Okay.
For as long as you're willing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I feel like you have so much value to add to kind of the next generation of youth travel baseball players, but also parents. So I guess where I want to start this thing is you were somebody who you reached the pinnacle, and I don't mean just getting to the big leagues, right? You reached the pinnacle in that you were an all-star. You reached the pinnacle in that you were kind of like, I don't want to say bigger than the game, but you were this persona that was revolutionary in a sense during that time while you were kind of at the height of your celebrity, I'll call it. But what was it like closing out the World Series? That to me, and even as I read a quote by you talking about like what makes an elite closer, and your answer was actually very, very specific. It was, I don't think anybody should be considered an elite closer until they're actually closing out a World Series, right? Like that's what it's all for. So what was that like for you to do?
Let's just get real. In spring training, I woke up in the middle of the night from a dream, but it wasn't a dream in which I could see colors or see outcomes. It was a dream of knowing. And I woke up and was like, whoa, we're going to win the World Series. Now, I understand 30 teams have that aspiration every spring training. Only one, it's real. But there was just something, I don't know the term you would use, downloaded to me, I guess, given to me, where we're for sure winning the World Series. And it wasn't based on like talent or I thought we were going to be the greatest team ever. It was just, I was just shown something in my body.
Yeah. When was this?
This was 2010.
Okay.
So in that spring training, I told a couple of the guys, pretty hope-filled. And then we went about the season and we're actually doing well. I think we led the first half. We had a lot of guys representative for the All-Star game. There was one particular moment in September where I blew a game or lost a game in Colorado. And I thought, oh, well, I guess the season's over now. Like, how do we recover from this? I took losses pretty hard. Wins were basically like, you did your job. So how can you like gloat or boast about it? Like you can't celebrate it for too long. At least that was my mindset. It was like, I got to do this every night. This is just wild. So that particular moment, I was real down, but then I got hope-filled thinking like, well, I'm not the one who was trying to say that we're going to win the World Series. This is just something that was like given to me in a dream that I didn't see. I just knew. And we just went about this whole journey in September where I think the Padres lost 10 games in a row in August or something. It comes down to the final game of the season. We're up 1 game. We have to win this or we go to some weird tiebreaker. We finished it out. And then from there, it was the weight of 56 years that San Francisco hasn't won a championship. So it was like, if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. So I took that on, and it was part fun, part, oh man, like I could be remembered forever for losing the World Series or something, like putting that weight on my shoulder. Because baseball's 8 innings, and then there's the 9th inning, which I believe anybody can do. But I don't think a lot of people can take the loss. And it's not like I'm sitting here saying I could take the loss. I don't even think I was designed to do that. I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but like, I felt like I had a heart attack every time I pitched. Not cool. But anyways, the ride was awesome and not awesome. So in that final moment, it's 3-2. Nelson Cruz is up. Time didn't slow down, but my awareness became very acute and specific about that particular moment. So I guess you could say time slowed down in a way. And I was looking at the dugout. No one was looking at me. They were just kind of looking at the batter. And I kind of checked my surroundings. I took a deep breath, went through my motion, came back up. And then I just got this super emotionally excited and giddy, like I was 9. Of, oh my gosh, God, we're about to win the World Series. And then I just said in my heart, like, I'm throwing this cutter right now. I'm going to need you to throw a strike for me. And it came in, went sideways. I think it went through his bat because I think he was like the home run king that year. So I don't know how he missed it. It wasn't anything that I thought I did special. And then it hit the mitt and it was like, what is going on now? This is too surreal.
Yeah.
You dream of it, but then when you're in the moment, I guess sometimes I speak in absolutes and yous and days and don'ts, but just bear with me. I'll try to say I in that moment didn't understand how awesome it was.
Yeah. Which I would think is probably normal, right?
It was a relief, actually.
Oh. So what's crazy about that too is, do you remember hearing anything like in that moment? Probably not, I would think.
No. Actually, the funny part about that is I looked at Darren Ford and he had a bloody lip.
That's what you remember.
Emmanuel Burris is like, I said, dude, what the hell happened? He's like, you punched him in the face. What? I punched him in the face? Yeah, you got really excited and you punched him in the face. Rewind back to Puerto Rico when I was playing winter ball. Apparently, I did the same thing. And I punched someone in the face in excitement. And I didn't know.
Like celebrating, yeah.
No, this was actually a brawl. But I didn't know that I was involved. So apparently when I get excited, I jack people in the face. And that was another moment where I was like, I guess I was there for that, but I don't recall.
And the reason I love this conversation, obviously the World Series is going on right now. Right?
Yeah.
And I have guys on both teams. And so you obviously have on one side a guy who's extremely excited, on another maybe frustrated, and then it flips.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is I do think what you're describing is like the tremendous opportunity that exists, but naturally there's another side.
Remember, I have to ration.
Yeah. So. Naturally, there's another side of it where, yeah, if you let that fear kind of creep in, then it becomes almost something that you can't even, like, you're not going to carry that, right? You don't know how to carry that weight. So for you, the moment was heavy, but then kind of had this sense of calmness about you. And then you closed it out. Did you have a letdown after the World Series? Like, oh man, I just reached the pinnacle. Now we got to do it again.
I was the person who was always striving, always looking ahead, had goals. But the unfortunate truth is I didn't realize that I could never catch the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I would just be in it and then have a new goal, and never got to really enjoy the, I guess, celebration of it all. Partly because I didn't know who I was. I didn't have an identity. The world had an identity for me, but that's not exactly who I thought I was.
I want to talk about this. When I go back, and obviously I was with you in your career, right? representing you throughout. And
since my 21st birthday, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, I think about you, and I would characterize it a little bit as like misunderstood, but also there, for anybody who is curious about like who this guy was, you can go back. I mean, there's the spandex tuxedo at the ESPYs. There's the Sasquatch at the ESPYs.
Yep.
There was the NBA 2K Larry Bird commercial, right? There were various things that you did that I think people were like, oh, this is an act. When in reality, I mean, just looking at you now, if you had a beard, you'd probably look like Macho Man Randy Savage.
Well, let's go.
On some level.
Let's go,
Which I have a
dude.
picture of you actually in a Halloween costume like that.
I did go as him.
Yeah. When all this stuff was happening for you, you were definitely enjoying yourself. You were enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were doing the best you could? Were you trying to just be fun and enjoy it? Or was it something that you felt like you had to kind of turn on and off? When you turned it off, maybe behind the scenes, did you struggle with like where were you as far as wrestling with that side of you, like the off the field stuff?
I only did things because I thought they were fun and me and my friends could laugh about it. I wasn't concerned with like whether the world believed or not.
Or gave you credit for it or whatever.
Yeah, I don't care.
Right.
There's tons of things that I did that I never got credit for or am getting credit for that I don't care.
Right.
Like, I really don't. The struggle back then was always, why did baseball become unfun? When did it become a have to rather than I get to? And I think social media destroyed the athlete, in my opinion. The athlete used to go out and mingle with fans, and it would only be word of mouth that person was there. But the problem is there are a few individuals out there that want to try to get you in a bad light.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had like this, well, that's obviously tequila. And then you get that bad perception. And then now the organization starts questioning your motives. And there was all this pressure to be like a high profile baseball player, but also you have like an image that you can't be a complete lunatic and you could lose your job at any time.
Sure.
Like there's millions of talented baseball players out there that can easily take your job. And I think that's what happened throughout baseball is there was never really a set workout program. They don't have like, I don't know what baseball is today. They didn't have like dietitians for you to make sure that
They
you're
definitely have all that stuff today.
awesome. Way to go, baseball. Apparently you can wear colored cleats too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, now they're encouraging it.
Yeah, that's great. Back then, there was no program for that. So it was always stated, well, the guy below you is probably doing it, so you should too. Like, okay, I got to work out the hardest, make sure my diet's dialed, and I guess I can't go out at night. And it's not like I was a complete party heathen, but I really needed to unwind after having a massive heart attack at 10 p.m. every night from pitching.
Right.
I needed to just be like maybe 2 hours of just hanging out with fans, talking about stuff. But that was a different lifetime ago. That's my opinion. I don't think an athlete is designed to actually be an athlete the way we look at them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being a gladiator every night. No, you're not actually fighting lions and warriors, but your body doesn't know the difference. Your body's still pumping out adrenaline. You're still having all of these corrosive things going through your body. And over time, it takes toll. Traveling, time zones, getting on planes, bus rides, sleep patterns. These are all crazy things, not to mention all the media outlets that will absolutely destroy you if you say something incorrect at the wrong time. So there was just, I guess, pressure, and pressure is perceived. Not everyone who's, I mean, if you take two people and live the same life, they're going to have different reactions. So at that time, a very sensitive soul. I don't think that I was designed to handle that kind of a lifestyle, but also I was equipped for it. I just didn't know who to lean on. So I took it all on myself,
Sure.
which was very destructive.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think being a witness to it, you could see the weight of it. And you see the weight of it today, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, and I don't want to say more today, but I think what's interesting is I reflect back on the game, this year, but going all the way back to kind of like your rookie year and what that looked like. Today, guys have it so much better, right? We talked about the dietitian stuff, but I mean, it goes far beyond that. Guys in the minor leagues now get some of the housing paid for. Like they have so many more rights than they once did. Oh, yeah. But what's interesting about that is you talk to an athlete today, the mindset of an athlete, though, is exactly the same. And so this is a long-winded way of me saying, like, I think you're absolutely right, because we as people get accustomed to certain things. And then it's like, well, then I want the next thing.
Yeah.
I want the next thing. And so you take this, and where it applies to youth and travel baseball is you take this idea of an athlete in the big leagues, and they've been told since they were 15, 16 that they're the greatest thing ever. They then get a lot of money as an 18-year-old kid, let's say out of the draft, or 21 if they went to college. They then work their way through the minor leagues. They get to the big leagues, and now everybody is surrounding them, telling them like, you're the greatest. I want a piece of you. Here, take this, right? Everything in the big leagues is free, right? For the most part, like people want to give you stuff. They want you to wear their product.
Yeah.
And so these things are happening, and we as a society never really understand or recognize the weight of that. And I think for people like me who never played in the big leagues, I see it differently now, but seeing it for the first time back in the day, you think to yourself like, oh, you're so lucky. You should just be happy that you get this opportunity, right? And one of the reasons why I've always said, minus the last work stoppage, whenever there's been a work stoppage in baseball, most of the time the fan base supports the ownership or like the organization before they support the players. And the reason I think that is because fans look at owners like brilliant businessmen who maybe they can't empathize with. They don't really understand. They may not feel that same way about them, but they look at a baseball player and they go, man, I played baseball when I was a kid. Like, do you know how lucky you are? Stop complaining about the money that you want. You should just be happy. And so there's this like natural divide. So this all ties into then you as a big leaguer handling all of this stress and dealing with all this, feeling like, who can even relate to what I'm going through? Other players, right? On some level. But then it becomes this like hamster wheel of, oh, it's the next season. Okay, I can't have these negative thoughts about, my life. So I just got to like push it away and let's do it again, right? And then you're surrounded by the front office who's encouraging it, right? Just MLB Central on some level is encouraging this. I think on some level, agents encourage it because like, hey man, go out there and have a good year. Like we got to go make our money. We got to go get that contract.
Yeah.
And so this thing gets like recycled throughout baseball. And then when a guy retires, now they're left saying like, well, who am I? Right? And so I'm curious, at your last year of playing tell everybody when that was. I'm going to get into that a little bit, but like
2014 was my last season.
Right. And then we, at some point, we threw some bullpens wanting to come back again, be a knuckleball guy, which looking at you now, it's obviously you wanted to come back and be a knuckleball guy, which we had an opportunity to do, which you turned down. But now being in retirement, it sounds like you don't really follow baseball much.
I never really followed sports. I just played them. And whatever I was playing at that time was my favorite sport. Baseball became very singular focused after my father passed away, and I realized this was an opportunity. And this was essentially, I believed at the only time, I guess this is the way it has to go. I have to choose one sport, and this is it because I'm slightly more talented. I know, ignorantly speaking, I thought I could have gone pro in any sport. Obviously, I probably couldn't have, but maybe.
Maybe basketball. I don't know. I heard the story about you. Didn't you like tape socks or something? Remember? You told me that story.
I don't know if painting your socks on equates to getting looks from NBA scouts, but maybe. I don't want to disqualify that. Yeah, baseball became the only thing. And it became such an identity. I never introduced myself as a baseball player. I never talked about what I did. Where I grew up, no one cared what you did. Are you a good dude? That's all they cared about. They don't care what your work is. That's not who you are. So I grew up with that mentality. But part of that is The amount of hours I slept, what I put into my body, how many hours I worked out was all geared towards this like goal of baseball, and it consumed me. And then I stopped going on vacations. I stopped doing things that I loved and thought I'll just do these later on in life, but I'm not guaranteed tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm constantly chasing, I guess, tomorrow and never enjoying today. And that can take a toll on you, like spiritually and mentally.
So put yourself now back in your shoes at LSU, which is where you play college baseball. What would you do differently now, knowing what you know, if you could go back and then do it again? Like
at LSU?
Starting at LSU.
Oh man, I would have stewarded a free education. Not because it was free, not because it was there, but because that's the opportunity I was given. And I believe God placed me there for a reason. And my like bargaining chip or my argument with, at that time, the universe was, no, I'm going to be a pro baseball player and this is what I need to do to get there. Single focused.
That is what I'd say 99.9% of kids today think. I want to be a Major League Baseball player. That's my goal. So I need to do everything in my power as fast as possible, as much as possible. And I think the parents oftentimes want that maybe more than the kids too.
So a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. God's word, which I think people think that they can call that manifest destiny. I'm not going to argue about theologies right now, but there are certain individuals out there that can put all of their heart, mind, strength, and soul into something, and it can come to fruition. My question to myself would be, congratulations, you became what you wanted to be. What does that do for you? How does that define who you are? And are you actually happy? Or were you addicted to the idea of becoming something? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but each individual is going to have to lay before the king and say, hey, this is what I did with the talent you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was at LSU, there was just a lot of things going on. Rebellion. Like my dad just passed away. The only authority in my life that I gave a crap about. So that means authority out the window. You can't tell 18-year-old Brian what to do. And I look back and I think, wow, God's grace was all over my life because I could have been booted from LSU so many times. I could have gotten injured. I mean, not just like a Tommy John, but I'm talking like severely injured with the lifestyle I was leading. So I would have gone back and I would have applied myself to the education that was given to me. I went to school. I didn't know you had to go to school. I think it was
like class.
Yeah. My head coach came up to me and said, hey, Brian, you can't play in the SEC tournament. I'm like, clearly it's not talent based. That was my thinking because I'm kind of a stud. So what are you talking about? You have to have a GPA. What do you mean? You have to go to class. You're a student athlete. Like,
so you got all the way to that point?
I got all the way to that point without really attending class. So I didn't have a GPA. So he set up interviews with my teachers. I don't know what for, but I had to go convince them of something. So I left the meeting, but then I came back and said, well, what classes am I enrolled in? How do I get in touch with these teachers? So I had all these meetings with teachers and I just simply explained to them. I came here for a dream. And I basically said this. Most kids are coming here for school to further their education because they, in some way, know what they want to be in life. So if they want to be a doctor, they can take classes geared towards that, lawyer, such and such. Baseball, I have no other time. If I want to be a professional athlete, I have no other time to put my focus into math, English, any electives. I just spoke to them and I said, I appreciate you being a teacher, but I'm asking you to invest in what I'm investing in, which is I need a little help here. In order for me to be a pro, I'm putting all of my eggs. And by the way, this isn't what I would say today. You're going reporting back to what I said at the time. I'm not saying this is the right way. This is the way that I did it. Apparently the teachers liked what I said. I guess it was authentic. They passed me. I did have to take tests though. It's not like I just got a grade. I did have to take a test. I guess I tested well, was able to pitch. After I left LSU for several years, I would get like these nightmares of, oh my gosh, I didn't go to class. Like, I'm not going to be able to play. And that was like well into my professional career, I would have these dreams. So I think I would have done more things for the Lord rather than for myself. But because God's grace and favor on my life was so powerful, not to say that I got away with it, but He just kept me alive for a different reason. And I'm still trying to figure out what that reason is today, but I have a lot more peace about it.
Do you think as an 18-year-old kid at LSU, 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, do you think that you were almost testing the bounds to which, like, how much can I, and the word that comes to mind is like get away with?
Right?
Oh yeah,
like, dude, I was always toting the line.
I'm almost wondering, like, not like, hey, let me see how much trouble I can get into, but just almost rebelling against yourself in a sense. Like your father just passed away and now you're probably not really happy. You're searching, right? If there was a sense of happiness, I'm sure it was like you not wanting to be bummed out all the time. But it wasn't true peace, right? So I have to imagine there's a part of you almost similar to the big leagues where you're like, whatever, man, I'm just going to let's see how far I can take this thing. And just continuing to push the line and push the line and push the line. And you talk about God's grace and you get to a place where you now experience you're probably looking back at some point now being like, I can't believe I got away with all that stuff.
I can't believe I got away with all the stuff that I did. The other, I can't believe that I was actually a baseball player with one pitch. I can't believe that people didn't crush me all the time. Talent alone, there's everybody, at least everybody that's ever picked up a ball, in my opinion, was better at baseball than I was. Mentally, probably the same. But as far as pushing the boundaries of my body, I don't know. Yeah, I'd say that there's probably less people. That was the only thing that I knew that I had that day was I'm going to push a little bit harder than you.
I would actually argue about your mindset because I feel like your mindset was so much more determined and I would say disciplined on some level. And so knowing you and seeing the work that you put in, I mean, you were doing things that no one else was willing to do. You were sacrificing in ways that no one else was willing to sacrifice. And I'm curious that, I think some of that was this, you obviously had these God-given abilities. Now, maybe it wasn't you had the best fastball. Maybe it wasn't you had, no changeup, right?
Yeah.
But you had something else and you recognized it early. And so you didn't stop where I think I just talked about this in the last podcast I did, funny enough, with Tara, my wife.
Tara!
Who wants me to give you a hug, by the way, after this. But
can't wait.
Picture like a hierarchy, right? Like a big triangle, right? We've all seen Coach Wooden's triangle, whereas you get up there's less and less people. And I think most big leaguers and most people in general in life kind of stop at the top, which is, how can I be the best? I would say that you were somebody that went above that. And the question that you would ask yourself consciously or unconsciously was, what am I capable of? And when you realize that, I have this ability to just set my mind at something and just absolutely go to the all ends of the earth to do, I think that's what baseball was for you. It's like more. Now, the danger in doing that though, is if you're doing it unconsciously, then it could quickly become more, I'm not satisfied.
Yeah, become an idol.
Yeah. When in reality, what am I capable of is more about, I want to do more for the world. I want to do more for the sport. I want to do more for people that I'm serving. I want to continually add more value, not for what it's going to do for me, but what it's going to do for them. And so that's where it's a little bit of a tricky thing is you get to a place where it's like, oh, no, you've made it all about yourself. And the reason why I think so many players, I feel like this is evidence to support this idea that are players actually doing it because they're meant to do it or because they just want to be famous or make a lot of money. Don't you find it odd that you ask the majority of kids who are, let's just say in high school, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would argue that most of them who play sports every one of them says, I want to be a professional at that one thing, right? But you ask anybody else who doesn't play sports, what do you want to be? And they're like, I don't know, right? And so how is it that someone the same age says, I don't know if they don't play sports, but everybody who plays sports is like, I want to be this professional. And I think some of them want to be a professional for the right reasons. They think at that point, but I would say a majority of them, they want the notoriety, right? They want the money. They want all of the things that come with that.
Power,
right? That's a great
really
one.
what they want.
I want to be able to control my life. And I was just having a conversation a couple of days ago with a client of mine who's in the big leagues, funny enough. And I said to him, I go, he had a rough year, started out really good, but he got injured. It didn't go how he wanted. And I said, all you experienced this year is what every person experiences in life at some point. You had this identity that was wrapped in something, right? This archetype of like, I want to be this thing, professional baseball player, make a lot of money, be powerful, as you said. And you based your entire life off of this thing needing to be true. And the season did not go as you wanted. And so therefore now this vision that you had for your life is now like disintegrating in front of you. And now you're basically left with, well, if that's not true, well, then what's true about me? And if you don't have a foundation built up, that can be very, very scary. Because what most players do is they immediately, if they had that thought, push it out of their head, just, nope, forget it. And just, I need a new hitting coach. I need a new strength coach. Like more, give me more. Let me just do more things because I have to fill this void that's in my mind about what I lack with, oh, I can try this other thing. And this other thing is going to give me that same ability to achieve that goal, that dream, that power, all that stuff. And I feel like on some level, that's kind of what you went through.
The percentages of becoming a professional athlete are so tiny, but then when you are a professional athlete, the percentages of playing more than like a year or 2 years, there's just always something more to attain. And I think as human beings, we can tend to normalize things that used to be outlandish or crazy for our life. You become a pro athlete. It's like you tell everybody when you get called up, this is the greatest thing ever. And then 2 years later, it's totally normalized. It's totally normalized that you come into a city and you play in front of 30,000 people every night. At one point, you don't like see that. And that's the hard part for an athlete is if you forget all of the things that has excited you on the way up. Fortunately for me, my sanity was I was always remembering the good times. So for me in the minor leagues, I wasn't there for that long. I think maybe a total of 2 years or so.
I would say maybe 3 years, yeah.
I loved the bus rides. Dude, I love the overnight bus rides to like Macon or some other South Atlantic League town. I love the fact that we played cards, or when we came in after batting practice, we had chips and maybe some sandwich meat if you got there fast enough. I love that we played in front of 15 people, or that it was 103 degrees that day, or it was freezing. I loved all of that. It was part of the human experience. I don't think I learned that. I think I was just given that perspective to just be thankful for the things. I didn't master that. I do believe that there was a point in time where I became unthankful, and eventually my heart hardened towards a lot of things and had to relearn and retrain the gift that was given to me so I could steward a more grateful and thankful life for being given things rather than thinking, I earned it, that's mine, or these are my talents that I cultivated. It becomes very like selfish. And when you're self-driven, satisfaction isn't really a word. It's, I guess, glimpses of happiness. There's no real joy, so to speak.
Yeah. One of the things that I try to encourage a lot of these young kids today with, there's like, whether it's NIL, whether it's the rankings, whatever it is, like these are all things that feel good, right? But they, if we're starting,
it's theoretical.
Well,
at that point.
And if we're starting down this path of like the professionalization of like youth sports, kids doing stuff super early. It's not that I'm telling anybody, don't do that. It's more about walking in awareness and knowing like, I want these kids to have fun. They need to have fun. I mean, you're describing it at the highest level again, like wishing that you actually, it sounds like not had more fun, because I know you had fun, but like enjoyed it and didn't necessarily close off some of yourself during that experience. I get reminded of a question that a good buddy of mine who's been on this podcast has brought up before. And you know, he coaches a lot of professional athletes from like the mental side. And he always asks the question, he goes, what if the point wasn't to be the best baseball player? What if that wasn't the point of all of this? Maybe you could be the best baseball player still, but the point of it is who you're ultimately going to become in the process of being a professional baseball player. And there is going to be more, like if you can accept this belief, there's going to be more people, more impact, more service, much more of a difference that you're going to make in your life, more happiness, if you can actually sit with that and accept that to be true. And what it'll also do, I believe, is it'll give you almost like a relief valve with all the pressure that you experience at the highest level. Because when it's not solely, I have to have success 100% of the time in baseball, and it's more about who am I becoming as a human being in life, right? Then it's much less about, oh my God, I can't lose right now. What does it say about me if I lose this game?
So I don't have regrets because God is the redeemer of time. So even if it took all the way to my dying breath to finally accept something, I wouldn't regret everything that's happened, because there's building character. And like I said, God is, in my opinion, the redeemer of time. So there were a few times where I just kind of disqualified my whole career because I didn't know what I believe I know now, which I'm not a theologian or a master of anything, but the relationship that I believe that I have with the creator of the world was so new and fresh when I came into the pros that I didn't understand how to have a personal relationship with what I perceived or signed up for. I'm talking about Christianity. I'm not talking about a religion. I'm talking about a relationship. What I signed up for, I didn't know the cost. I didn't understand what pursuing God looked like. I just thought I was saving myself from eternal damnation in hell. Okay, there's millions of beliefs out there. I was introduced to this. I felt like it was revealed into my heart who the savior of the world was. I accepted it. But from there, I didn't understand that there was a life and purpose specifically for me. I didn't understand that there was a community that I should probably be part of, that I should maybe worship and praise with my brothers and sisters. And I didn't understand that reading his word would be helpful or kind of a requirement, not like a rule, because the letter of the law kills. But those are things that I think God has shown me now that I can be thankful for. You can ask probably every single top athlete in every sport, and you probably already have an idea of who they are. And you just ask them the question, so how do you feel today? They're probably, if they're gonna genuinely answer that question, they'll probably say there's a little void. There's something missing, which is why a lot of retired athletes have to be around the sport. They just have to come into announcing, or they have to make another comeback, because what they're missing is they're missing the community or the identity. I don't know if it's the recognition on the field or the roar of the crowd or saying hello to like 100 people every day to not saying hello to anybody. The isolation, I don't know, maybe just the respect for the grind. People like to be around other people that are kind of in the same pain journey as you. For me, the answer was very clear. There was something missing from my life. And it was a huge thing, because I've always, since I was a kid, wondered, what in the heck is all of this? Like, seriously, I would think about that like very deeply as a child. Who made all this? What is the point of any of this? And if there is a point, when do I get to know what that is so I can follow the rules or fulfill whatever calls on my life? I have more peace now than I did when I was at the very top of everything. Even when I was having fun, like you think. The peace that I have now is in the middle of storms. It's like a songbird whistling as there's a torrent around. And I can't explain it other than it was given to me. I didn't learn how to have peace. I couldn't buy peace. I couldn't teach peace or study peace. It's just been given to me beyond my understanding. And I believe that part of that is pursuing and understanding God, but also truly understanding my identity isn't in things, it's in Him. I can't explain any more than that. I don't have some cornerstone on what peace should feel like or look like, other than it happens at very strange times. And it's pretty sweet to not be totally affected by bad news. And you're just calm, cool, and collected.
What is interesting from my perspective, right? Having been a witness to the entirety of the career, the person that you were when your resume was as beautiful as any, right? Was like this, right? It was very emotional.
Yeah, it was Six Flags, dude.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, you know, there'd be this ongoing joke in the office because you would literally call me, no joke, 15 times a day, right? You remember all the inventions? We were inventing things. But
bless your heart, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, but
I wouldn't have been able to deal with me.
I'm going to tell you, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, it was an honor. It was difficult. It was. It trained me to be a better agent today. It trained me to listen. I mean, we had some pretty hard conversations, right? I remember one, and I've actually talked about it, just where, I can't remember the question somebody asked me, but like, what was the hardest conversation you've ever had to have with a player? And I'm like, oh, the one time I had a conversation with Brian Wilson, he hung up on me and said, I'm reevaluating my agent situation. I'll call you in like, I think you said like, I'll call you in 5 days and tell you what I decide. Click. And I'm like, what? And then you called me like the next day and said, I apologize. But even then, I apologize. I can't believe I said that. You know, You're my guy, whatever.
Even as a heathen, outlaw-ish behavior, there was still conviction that was being pressed upon my heart. Like, you still need to be a good dude, even though you're trying not to be.
Yeah, because I want to give these families and maybe any young player who's listening, what would you say about the relationship that you believe you need when you're in the big leagues? Whether that's, I mean, I guess for me, the thought is always agent because I am one. Doesn't necessarily need to be relationship with the agent, but more about like teammates, mentors. Was there anybody that you experienced going through the same journey you were just as a player who maybe handled things a lot more cool, calm, and collected and that you just remember?
I think Buster Posey comes to mind as someone who, I mean, what a storybook career. Absolute warrior, but like very polished, almost like he'd been trained his whole life to be in that limelight. I think he handled things incredibly well. And that's probably due to how he was brought up, the opportunities that came his way. He didn't allow him to get to his head. So I think those are great things. But you're asking me, what do you think you need? I think regardless of religion or relationship, I think you just need somebody you can talk to that knows you, that you can trust, and will be a vault with the information you give them. You just need to know somebody's in your foxhole.
Yeah, otherwise you're not going to feel comfortable sharing information.
Yeah, you're just going to be on edge all the time. You need somebody that knows you, you trust, and you're willing to just say, hey, I can't do this anymore, or I'm having a really good time and I just wanted to share that with you. Got to have somebody. But if we're getting specific, I believe you're going to have a brother in Christ in your life. That's my belief. I can't push anything other than that, because no matter how good we think we are, eventually we have to come to the realization that on our own, we're not good, because good is what is good. And I think eventually we'll all find out what is the truth.
I know I kind of went into this a little bit, but seeing you throughout your career as you were then and how you are now,
Yeah.
and you've been this way, I mean, a little bit since you've retired. There's a piece, right? It feels like you're enjoying life more today than you did at the height of your career. So like, what does that tell you? Because if you look at the majority of players when they retire, I mean, they are just wanting to go back to 2010, closing out the World Series. Like, just give me one more time to experience that. And I feel like you're somebody who, I don't get the impression that there's like this thing missing that you want to go back to.
If you want that competition, you're just going to have, if you're a real athlete, you find it in whatever you're doing. Find it in pickleball, find it in frisbee golf, find it in actual golf. You can find it in working out. You'll find the competition where you are playing with other like-minded people and you're working on a craft. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the bottom of the ninth on the road. It could just be game point at some recreational court where it's just four of you playing pickleball together. You can turn that switch on if you want.
Yeah. I want to go into a little bit of your career again. More so, let's because I called out what I believed to be a separator with you was your mindset. Obviously, I think to be as successful as you were as a closer in the big leagues, you had to think differently about what pressure meant, right?
Yeah.
What do you think guys to succeed at the highest level need mentally to have success?
Endurance, resolve, and a little bit of, it's okay what you think about me. Not going to harm me. You hate me. So what? It's not going to change how I'm going to go to work. Or you praise me. That's still not going to change how I need to go to work. When I was out there, there's only one movie that I can kind of relate to. Was For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. He called it Clearing the Mechanism. And he called it, like, when you see the movie, it was him and the batter, and then the camera would just do this, and it would be tunnel vision. Now, I don't think that I had tunnel vision. I still knew the crowd was there. My eyes didn't just all of a sudden go zoom. But there was almost as if there were various three-dimensional levels of which you enter into. First, you enter into the stadium, okay? And then the pressure of that. And then the crowd comes in. You enter in a new singular focus level. Then the game begins. Then the flow of the game happens. Then your turn to come into the game happens. You're at another level. Now it's between you and the hitter. And now you've entered probably the deepest level of that game and moment in time. And that's where I would try to live, is I have a game plan. He has a game plan. It's between him and I, but actually more deeper than that. It's just me doing what I do. And you're just standing there.
So what's interesting about what you said, I feel like a lot of the better players, whether you're a hitter or a pitcher, you're trying to execute your strength rather than trying to like outsmart the opponent. Because I think sometimes you can get a little bit too cute with like, oh, well, he can't do this, so I'm just going to rely on this one thing, even though it may be my second or third best pitch, instead of no one in the box is going to be able to hit me if I can execute this pitch.
One of my favorite things that I heard is, as a pitching staff, you have meetings before a team comes in and they go over strategies and game plans and stats. And I love stats. They're amazing. But stats only tell you what had happened to give you maybe the best percentage of what might happen. But what might happen always changes, which means stats always change. So glad they're there. The only stat I really cared about was what percentage of the first pitch are you going to swing at? That way I know, like, I have to be a little bit more careful about this pitch. But we were in a pitcher's meeting and someone was telling me that played with Billy Wagner, that they were in a pitcher's meeting. And Billy just simply said, yeah, but that's, you can't throw a fastball in. Doesn't have my fastball. I just loved it. I'm probably paraphrasing it, but what I got out of it was, don't tell me that I can't throw my strength because the other guy is better at it. then fire me.
Right.
Have somebody else. But if fastball in is my strength and fastball in is his strength, he's not hitting 1,000. So let's see what happens. Because the minute I deviate from my strength, I have doubt. I do believe there's wisdom, right? You do have other pitches. Well, I could just throw a fastball away. And the moment might dictate that wisdom, and you might need to do that. But if you're going away from your strength because of fear,
Right.
then you might as well just pack your bags. The inning's over. And I don't think going into it being like bullheaded about it will really help, because eventually you will give up that homer at a critical time. But I do believe that you cannot be fear driven. Now, for most of my career, fear, like stepping away from fear. Most of my career was fear motivated. I didn't want to lose. I didn't want the weight of the world. I didn't want to have to answer to media why I was such a craphead that day. I didn't want to answer to fans why I'm the worst closer. Those things were operating. And to a degree, you can get the job done by not feeding into the negative side of fear. But I don't think it's sustainable or healthy to like use fear as the motivating factor.
Yeah, it's like you're going on offense, not defense.
Yeah.
But using fear as the motivating factor is going on defense. I don't want this to happen, so I'm going to avoid this and do this.
Right.
Instead, you're saying, I want this to happen, so I'm going to go get this. That's how I'm hearing you.
Yeah. And your decisions become so vitally important in these adrenalized situations. It's like, it can take a toll on you. By the time the season's over, you're just like, what do you do? I don't know. I'm a guy who sleeps now. I'm going to sleep for 3 weeks. And depending on what position you are, I mean, at least a closer is you have to be prepared every night. It's not just when you pitch. And if you play on a team that doesn't score many runs, your availability is 162 games. And the games that you don't throw in, you're warming up. So there's never a going to the park going, yeah, so today's my day off. Like if you had an actual day off, totally different mindset. You're just joking around, you're having fun, there's no pressure. But as a closer, there's no days off. It's every single day. Again, you signed up for it. And I think that's what differentiates between maybe a reliever and a closer is, yeah, the inning is not different. I mean, besides the number 8th and 9th or 7th, but you're still facing 3 guys, still got to get 3 outs. I think it's just the compound grind of having to be on every day, no matter what you're feeling. There's no, my arm hurts, I need to take a few days off. There's none of that. You have to do it. You have to show up. You can't back down.
Well, if you think about it, like let's just say you're throwing in the 6th inning, right? Team could be up, you could be tied, team could be down. Chances are when you're throwing in the 6th inning, whether you execute or not does not immediately determine whether you win or lose.
Right. Yeah.
When a closer comes in, it's like most of the time, unless you're deep into a game, it's like, I'm coming in because if I do my job, we get a W. If I don't do my job, we get an L. And so you've got to be able to handle that. Not everybody can. And that's why, again, I think it was so perfect that you became a closer. Like, I don't think, and you were a starter in college. I don't think there was any way that you weren't going to eventually find yourself in the closer's role because, you know, on some level, like you were like seeking out the pressure is how it felt.
Probably.
Seeing it.
I also like to be in control. So starting for me was awesome. At least in my opinion, that was my game. I wasn't pitching against another team or pitching against a pitcher. It was, I get to throw what I want, when I want. I can take as long as I want, or as fast as I want. And this is my game. I loved that. I loved starting. But after Tommy John, my arm was just different. Even the way my arm was like positioned. I didn't have a curveball anymore. And I had a pretty good curveball in college. So I had to figure out how to still pitch, attain my dream, while also with an arm that wasn't the arm that I had.
Yeah. So
there were a lot of things that factored into it. I mean, the biggest thing for me, it seems like a joke to everybody else, but the main reason, 2 reasons, why I became a reliever is I was drafted with Tommy John. So that means there was a protocol of how many innings I could throw. So when I was finally, congratulations, you're being called up to low A. When I was finally called up to low A, I was on a pitch count. So I'd have to come out of the game in like the third inning or fourth inning. And it seemed like almost every start I made, I had 3 clean innings. And then the fourth inning, I'd start laboring and a reliever would come in. And just seemed like every time the reliever came in, double in the gap, all the guys score. Now your ERA is just here instead of here. And I just looked at that role and I thought, man, that guy just gave up all my runs, didn't give up any of his, and he's golden.
He's got a 1.
Yeah, his day is over. It's great. The next day, whether you win or lose as a starter, you have a role, which is during batting practice, you are somewhere behind second base with a huge screen so you don't get hit by line drives. You have to collect all the baseballs that are hit and go back and forth between the screen and the person throwing batting practice. Meanwhile, everybody else on the field is playing a game on who can hit you in the ankles, which is a game that I loved playing against other starters. But I was just like, this is stupid. I'm a pro. Like, I shouldn't be having to collect baseballs and bring them in. I don't like this role. Relievers don't have to do it. They're also cashing in my runs. That's it. I've made up my mind. I'm going to tell my pitching coach today, I'm not a starter anymore. I'm coming out of the bullpen. And closing wasn't even in my purview. It was just more, I don't want to do the starting anymore. This is dumb. And it was an impulsive action. One could say, oh, it was the right move, but also we don't know. We don't know what my career could have been as a starter. We have no idea. We only look at the fruit as a justification for the decision, which many would say, great decision. Oh, yeah. But it was an impulsive decision with haste behind it. And I think the only reason why it worked was because God's grace is so much more than my crappy decision making. I don't think it's destiny. I don't think it's fate. I just think it's grace. That's all it was. And determination.
Go back to when you got called up to the big leagues and you got into the clubhouse. Was there anything that happened that you were like, because when you got called up to the big leagues, these veteran guys, like they would haze guys still. Doesn't really happen anymore. But was there anything that happened? And I don't mean like tell us the story about you getting hazed, but was there anything that happened that you're like,
you can't haze me?
No, but like, I wish someone would have gave me a heads up about that.
So when I came up, this was maybe the last year the true veteran of baseball was around. So young guys weren't coming up, maybe 2 or 3 per year tops. And teams were more likely to sign like a 10, 12-year veteran over anybody else. So you would have just experience. I don't want to be crude and say experience over talent, but you had, on our team, we had a bunch of experienced dudes. I mean, our average outfielder age must have been 40. Every single guy had family and kids. And here's 24-year-old Brian heading up to the big leagues. And I just felt like, dude, these are all men. Like, and I'm just like a little baby child, man. I was called up from Colorado Springs. No, Tacoma. I was in Tacoma. The previous night, I blew a game. No van, just the Avalanche.
Okay.
I think it was an Avalanche.
It was an Avalanche. It was. I remember that truck.
Yes, because I bought that in 2004 with 0 money. Thank you, God. You're the best. Just whatever. That was a long time ago. Sound wisdom is sometimes needed to be heeded. So I blew a game. I'm in Tacoma. I'm on a punishment run, which is you need to go run this off, dude. Like you don't blow games and you need to go run for 2 hours in the woods.
You punished yourself. Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to continue to do that again. And the punishment that I gave myself was grueling. So it was like some sort of 2-hour run in the woods. And I get back and Shane Turner was the AAA manager, someone who reminded me of just like the build of a gorilla, just like kind of jacked, but also sometimes had an explosive temper just to like coach us and get under our skin. He was a very scary individual, but such a good dude, such a lovable guy. And when I got back, someone was like, hey man, Shane's looking for her. I'm like, great. I blew the game last night. I guess I have to go talk about that. And I get in the office, and first thing he's like, dude, where the hell have you been? I was like, I was on a run, blew the game last night. He's like, yeah, exactly. You can't be doing that. So let's talk about that game. So I just want to let you know that where you're headed, you can't ever be doing that again.
Blowing the game.
Then there was a pause. Where I'm headed? Like, yeah, congratulations, you just got called up. That moment was, you dream about that moment happening. You have hope and you have belief that it will happen. But when it does happen, what in the heck is going on right now? So ecstatic. So I get flown to Colorado. I'm just in my hotel room. I'm like, dude, this hotel room's sick. I don't have to room with anybody. This is awesome. I get room service. I guess I still have to pay for it. The iPhone was like barely out, by the way. I think I might have had like a Samsung something or whatever. But anyways.
Rather than Nokia,
Yeah. Also, you had to hail a cab at this point in life. So I hailed a cab, left my flipping phone in there, had to call from a landline to reach the cab company, and had to pay him extra money to drive back out. So all those things happen. But I'm not a person who counts losses during the day. Like, I don't ever have one of those days. It just doesn't exist to me. It was a bummer that it happened, but whatever, dude. So that now I'm there. And Colorado, I can't breathe that well. Like, it's a little bit higher up than I'm used to. And I'm also like jacked on adrenaline. And now I'm in the bullpen with dudes that I've actually seen on TV when I was a child. Like, that's how old these guys I'm playing with are. Finally get the call. The phone rings. Willie, you got it. I'm like, that must mean I should warm up. I warm up. It's probably the longest run you'll ever have as a reliever from the bullpens in Colorado to the mound. It's something like at least 7 miles, in my opinion. And you get there.
You can't breathe.
Dude, what is going on? I struck out the first guy. And then I tear something in my body. And when you get hurt, you're like, yeah, I'm definitely hurt. I'm for sure injured. There's just something in your spirit where you're like, yeah, this is not good. This isn't just like a cramp. Get in the dugout. I don't tell anybody because like, that's not my MO. I'm not going to tell you I'm hurt. I'm just like kind of doing that. I'm like, oh man, something tore. So I go out and I pitch another inning and I'm getting high praise. Like, this is awesome. And then I finally have to go, hey, glad I got the call up. This is awesome. Tore something. So I went on the DL the next day. Dude, after my first appearance in the big leagues, 2 shutout innings, Bonds pinched hit for me. It was a dream come true. We didn't win. But I then went on the DL for 3 weeks. It's just like, what a storybook start. Whatever. It's like, it's life, dude. You got to be able to deal with the ups and downs of it. It was still magical.
Wow. Well, think about this too. In your debut, who pinch hit for you?
Bonds.
Think about that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Kind of wild.
Yeah, and I have the scorecard too.
Who was on that team?
Oh, dude. We had in our outfield, Randy Wynn, Moises Alou, Barry Bonds, Mike Matheny,
okay,
Dave Roberts was on that team.
Steve Finley.
Finman.
Yeah, I forgot he was on the Giants. Give me like the guys in the bullpen with you.
Okay, so Jeff Facero.
Yep.
Tyler Walker. Call him Polar Bear because he had blonde hair. He was just a big dude. Steve Klein was the guy that came over from St. Louis. Lefty, veteran player. I saw him throw his glove in the crowd one day when he gave up a couple of runs. He also was like a really strong dude and liked to wrestle people. Mark Gardner was our pitching guy, the bullpen coach out there.
What a squad.
Dude, all-star team names. Like, you would have thought like, whoa, with these names on this team, National League all-star team. I think we came in like 3rd in the division or something. I didn't care. I didn't really pay attention to our record either. I was just like, this is awesome. I'm pitching in the big leagues, having a good time. Every stadium I went to was just the 9s compared to what I was used to.
Oh, yeah.
I don't recommend this routine, but after each home game, and I don't think every home game, but I was staying at the Donatello, which was like across the street from Ruby Sky, some nightclub. So I would hear the nightclub popping off every night. But we had free internet, free Wi-Fi, so it was kind of chill. And because I was getting called up and down, I couldn't live in a permanent place. So I would always just be in the Donatello. After the game, I would walk down either 4th Street or 3rd Street, listening to Justin Timberlake's album, Super Sexy Swing. I forget what the album was, but I don't care what anybody says. JT brings it. So every night I'd be like, dude, this guy gets me. So I'd be walking down the streets. It's freezing no matter what day it is in San Francisco. It's like, what is it, December? No, it's April 30th. If there's 30 days in April, I don't know. So then I would head to Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. Get like 4 or 5 slices, get a super huge, just like spike of the insulin. And then I go to bed. And I thought that was the best routine ever. Now you're probably thinking like, well, when did the diet come into play? The next year, the diet came into play. But 2006 was the year of indulgence. And every time I go to San Francisco, I remember that walk. I'm just like, dude, wow. I'm in the big leagues. No one knows who I am. I'm just a dude walking down the street, listening to JT, thinking about tuxedo cheesecake.
Well, what's crazy too is I remember coming to visit you. This is when you lived over in the marina. Yeah. And this was when you had the black beard and like you couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it turns out if you've got like some sort of distinct facial feature with hair, you're going to get recognized.
Yeah.
So like, it was just like the beard. It wasn't the fact that I had some other distinct feature. It was.
Exactly. And here's what's interesting. So as I think about all the various things, I know I talked about them a little bit earlier, but obviously there was the ESPYs with the Hispanic tuxedo, with Sasquatch, the NBA 2K commercial, the machine. Recently, I think Charlie Sheen was on Joe Rogan and they were talking about winning and all the various things.
Oh, yeah.
And so great thing is Charlie Sheen says, "Hey, Joe, you know where that came from, right?" And Joe goes, "No, who?" And Charlie says, "Brian Wilson." And Joe goes, "The Beach Boy?"
Could you imagine if he just stopped? Yeah, the Beach Boy that just passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was how he talked.
No, and then Charlie goes into it and he's like, "No, the closer with the San Francisco Giants, the guy with the big black beard." And he talks about this conversation that you guys had, and he's giving you credit for essentially saying these things to him. And what's interesting is Charlie says, you know, and I knew this because obviously I was around you and we had the conversation about the conversation with Charlie. And Charlie's like, "Yeah, you know, I don't know if he was being serious or if he was trying to give me content to use, but like I walked off that phone call and I thought, man, that guy is full of it. Like there's so much good that just came from that call." All to say, everybody knows about all these various things. Is there anything that you're like super proud of that happened during that same time that like nobody knew that you're proud of? And I'm not expecting you to say something that's like anything like this, but something that you did or experienced that like really meant something to you that like nobody knows.
I think it was for Father's Day. I walked into Starbucks and just handed like a rack of money and said, "Everyone's drinking coffee for free today." And then telling nobody about it, but just hearing all of the various people that got free coffee that day. There was another particular time where I was in the marina and I was at, I think it was Sprinkles. And I was just getting cookies, and school across the street was let out. And one kid shuffles in after another. And then I just basically felt like I bought the whole street cookies. And the cop showed up, like, not to like stop what was going on, but to just kind of steward what was happening. Or just took a bunch of photos, signed autographs in the middle of the street. And it was like, that's what could happen at the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And there was another moment that I don't know if I'm proud of this, but I was in San Diego on Coronado, board shorts, a ripped up t-shirt, no shoes, just kind of walking around because I was at the beach. And I go to this hotel called Shutters. I walk in and there's a dude in a tuxedo and he's got a napkin. And then he goes, "Brian Wilson? Oh, dude, I'm the best man at this wedding. Will you sign my best man speech?" And he hands me this napkin. I'm like, "Dude, your best man speech is on a napkin? I hope you kill it." Anyways, I sign it. He's like, "Hey, you want to come in?" So he walks me through the whole wedding. And it's this massive, like, I think Irish wedding or something. And I just meet the groom, I meet the bride, I meet the family, I'm schmoozing at tables, and I
Tell me you stayed.
I stayed. I still have board shorts, no shoes, and like a shirt. I honestly don't remember much other than for the next 15 years, dude, I would run into somebody that was like, "Hey, I was at that wedding that you showed up to." It was uncanny the amount of people that were at those moments, and it was really cool. And I frequently run into people that I've taken pictures with, and we've taken pictures again like 10 years later. So those are the moments that I wouldn't say like I'm proud of, but it was cool to experience those. Some would say those are kairos moments, the Greek
Yeah.
word for very quality moment, not just like chronos moment where
Yeah.
it's like 2 p.m. It doesn't have to be life changing, but a little bit altering in some way.
Yeah.
Very cool. I loved it.
That's
I
great.
loved those moments.
That's great. I actually didn't know about. You told me about the wedding, but I didn't know about the other ones, and those are that's amazing. Last question, as we have a couple minutes left. If a young player, maybe he's 16, 17, 18 years old, feels like he's struggling with his identity in sports, right? Feels like, man, I put so much pressure on myself. He listens to what you said today, and he feels like, I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm kind of falling into that trap. I'm setting everything up to where if I don't make it as a professional baseball, if I don't get drafted, if I don't go to college and get a scholarship, if I don't do these things, then I'm going to be a failure in life. What do you say to that kid?
I would say go home, go into a closet or a bathroom, get on your knees, and just ask, "God, are you real?" And go from there.
What a way to end it. I love it. Appreciate you, brother.
Of course.
Macho man.